Welcome to Epic Begins with One Step Forward. I'm your host, Zander Sprague, and I am so delighted that you're joining me today. I've got a thought of the day for you. Actually comes from Zig Ziglar. Success does not come overnight. That is so true. The things that we want to master, we don't master right away. Think about this. When you first learned how to write, it took a long time for you to make A, B, C, etc. But now you do it without even really consciously thinking about it. That's because success did not come overnight. It comes from repeatedly doing a task, practicing, failing, and trying again. I had the pleasure of meeting Zig Ziglar many years ago, and he said I was a 7-year overnight sensation. And I think that that is a great thing to think about, okay? So much of what we want to achieve takes time, and there's nothing wrong with that. The more we practice, the better we get at it. Now, I wanted to give you a little update about one of my podcast guests, John Diggs. John is an unbelievable person. He talks about mind mapping and how important mind mapping is. I can tell you that every year I make myself a vision board so that I see the things that I want to achieve. And it's amazing, by looking at that every day, putting that in my mind, even if I don't stop and look at it, I see it every day. My brain sees it. And I'm able to remind myself that there are the things that I want to achieve. It also reminds me the things that I haven't worked on recently that I really want to get to. One of the things that was on my vision board last year was this TV show. And here I am. I have my TV show, and that is so awesome. In fact, I'd say it's epic. Today, I am so honored to be joined by Eric Moss. Eric, thank you for coming. Tell us a little about who you are.
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity. This is going to be a lot of fun, who I am. As we were talking earlier, it's an interesting question with multiple answers. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a divorcee, I'm a grandfather, I'm a teacher, I'm an intensely curious person, podcaster, and it's just one of these things that life brings us together. Absolutely,
absolutely. So in meeting you last week, and we were talking about you being a guest, you've had a fascinating journey that brings you here. And can you just share a little about kind of what your journey has been, what some of the things that you've done?
Okay, well, it's tough to have a beginning because, you know, there are 3 greatest days in a person's life, I'm told.
Okay.
One of which is the day they're born.
Yep.
The second of which is the day they finally figure out why they were born. And the third day is when they actually decide to do something about it, take action on it.
Definitely.
So, you know, I don't want to take you through, I was born, blah, blah, blah. No, let's start off in college. I went to Carnegie Mellon as a management science major, even though I really wanted to go there for theater. And my dad said, well, okay, you want to be an actor? How are you going to pay for it? And I said, ooh. So went to Carnegie Mellon, got an undergraduate degree in management science, which fundamentally is a very engineering, quantitative approach to business. And that kind of clicked with how my brain works. So I tend to think in models and images and constructs because they help me make order out of the world.
Definitely.
And in fact, that's what the human brain does a lot, making order out of chaos. There's good news and there's bad news. The bad news is that the order that we make, these paradigms that we form, cause us to filter information. We can't help it. This is part of, we got so much information coming at us, how do we make sense of it? So after graduating from Carnegie Mellon, went to work for Pepsi-Cola fortunately as a management science analyst. I got to actually apply those things that I was taught. And did some forecasting models, but ultimately I knew I wanted to go back to grad school. So I went to graduate school at UCLA, got an MBA in marketing and arts management. Marketing because I was one of the 6 people that introduced Pepsi Light nationally. You can no longer find it, but nonetheless, it was a national product launch.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stories behind that that I've used in the classroom. We'll get to that in a second. So got the degree in arts management as well as marketing, because all through high school and college I had been involved in theater. And so my mom was a fine artist. She also went to Carnegie Mellon, Carnegie Tech at the time, and for painting and sculpture. And one of her classmates was this guy by the name of, what's his name? Oh yeah, Andy Warhol.
Oh yeah. Oh, that guy.
That guy, yeah.
Yeah.
And my father went to the Naval Academy, then got his master's in electrical engineering. That degree is still around, from MIT. So here I've got this engineer and the artist running around inside of my head.
Yes.
So that explains the kind of arts management. After graduate school, I've been in the professional services industry, and I counted it up, and I'm almost embarrassed to say it's over 35 years.
Okay.
From writing PL1 and Fortran, those languages don't exist anymore, building large integrated financial modeling systems for public utilities, Pacific Gas and Electric, Southern Cal Gas, Southern Cal Edison, those kinds of folks. And then wound up with IBM Global Services, Infosys, Cognizant, Accenture. Accenture was an interesting ride. They started off I joined them when they were Andersen Consulting.
Yeah.
Then they changed their name to Accenture, separating themselves from Andersen Worldwide. And what happened around that time? Enron.
Yeah.
So they were very fortunate to separate themselves. And then during the dot-com boom, they decided that they would shift from a partnership to a publicly held corporation so that they could generate capital to continue to invest in what ultimately turned out to be the bust.
Yes.
So, all of those things. And in my latter part of the career, again, from Andersen Consulting, Accenture, IBM, Infosys, Cognizant, I was an alliance manager, essentially putting together left hand and right hand to be able to create more together than either entity could apart.
Sure.
The challenge was that you have 2 fundamental business models, the professional services industry and the technology providers, that are 90 degrees out of phase with each other with respect to revenue recognition. A professional services firm can only recognize revenue as the services are delivered. A software or technology company can recognize the revenue when it's booked, when the license is first consumed or the product actually ships.
Sure.
So you have this long revenue recognition for the professional services firm and a very short one for the technology firm.
Absolutely.
So how do we bring these 2 organizations together? And it was all about solutions. Bring in, and again, this is kind of the take a piece part here, take a piece part there, putting Lego pieces together to make this beautiful picture. Well, I had gotten to a point in my career, and in retrospect, it made a lot of sense. I was diagnosed very late in life with ADD, ADHD. Those are labels, letters, etc. But really, I've come to find out that it's really all about neurodiversity.
Right.
And my diversity presented itself in different ways. And I recognized at various points in my career where it would have made a difference had I but known and had the tools to address, or I'm not going to say compensate, but really take advantage of some of those elements of neurodiversity.
Absolutely.
So here I was in between jobs, looking for jobs as an alliance manager, and my muse, my wife, the inspiration of my life, says to me, okay, have you ever thought about teaching? I said, I don't want to teach. I don't want to be in a classroom. Before high school students, no. I don't have a PhD, really was never really interested in doing the in-depth research. Again, one of the ways that the neurodiversity presents itself is I have great ideas and no follow through.
Yeah, that is definitely a hallmark of ADD, you know?
And I get squirreled.
Yeah, absolutely. Great, absolutely. You get squirreled.
I get squirreled.
Yeah.
And so, you know, again, that whole notion of being able to teach at the 4-year college level, that really wasn't something that fell into really what I wanted to do.
Definitely.
And so my wife said, well, have you thought of community college? Because she went to DVC as part of her training.
Right.
And I said, no, besides there are no jobs. And she says, have you looked? I said, no.
Funny, those little questions, no.
Catalytic questions.
Yes.
And so it turns out, and again, I'm going to use another term that I've learned from her, I got lucky. Mm-hmm. But luck is when opportunity meets preparedness.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of the optimistic view, if you will,
yeah.
of luck. And it turned out that I was an emergency hire. They had a business statistics course that students had signed up for, but they had nobody to teach it.
Oh, no.
So I was interviewed on Tuesday, offered the job on Thursday, couldn't start teaching until the following Tuesday because I didn't have a TB test.
Yeah.
So I walk into this classroom, never having taught at an extended basis as you have.
Sure.
And here are students who are expecting a seasoned teacher to teach them business statistics. And I'm saying, okay, I now understand the imposter syndrome. They're going to find me out. But it turns out that all of these things that I had done in my past really did prepare me for this. Because with IBM, I was a metric subject matter expert. I've been doing forecasting for a long time. You know, I'm lousy at math. Don't ask me to do math in my head.
Sure.
But the concepts of the statistics, of algebra, those kinds of things, again, they fit a model. They fit with an engineering brain.
Definitely.
And I found that this was absolutely so much fun.
Absolutely. And I, you know, having taught technical, I taught people how to use software, really highly technical software. So that imposter syndrome, I get it. I mean, I walked into many a classroom where I'm like, I know that these people know a lot more about programming than I do, but that's okay. Because one, if you look at your life as you did and say, actually, I do have the experience, I do have the knowledge to teach this. And frankly, you just have to believe in yourself unfailingly. Because, look, we're all going to fail at stuff. It's okay. Yes, they're looking to you to be the expert. Turned out you were the expert. You just actually had to take a moment and go, well, actually, I do know about statistics. Or as I like to call it, sadistics. Because if you've never done statistics, folks, it's not really all that difficult. It's adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing.
And it's not really math.
And it's not. The hard part is knowing which formula you need to use to figure out what you need to, what you're trying to solve for.
And these days, it's really not even memorizing formulas.
Right.
Because all of these formulas are there in the statistical packages. But to your point, you have to know how to use them and what you're looking for.
Right.
And really to understand the principles and let the software worry about the formulas.
Exactly. But it is hard when you don't know. You're like, I know there's a formula. It could be this one or this one. Which one do I use?
Well, and to your point too, you talked about change and growth and things like that. And there's a model that at least resonates for me, a competency model, where you start off being unconsciously incompetent. You don't know what you don't know.
Absolutely.
Then you hit that chasm of consciously incompetent. Oh, I know I don't know something.
Yep.
And that's the hardest chasm to cross.
Yep.
The next stage is, you're consciously incompetent. So you start to learn, and then in the learning process, you become consciously competent. I know how to do something, but I have to think about how to do it. And to your point, how to do it is a process of trying different stuff, not succeeding. Notice I didn't say failing.
Yep.
Not succeeding, but recognizing the learning opportunity. And then from being consciously competent, you become unconsciously competent.
Yep.
And the risk of being unconsciously competent is it may be on the cusp of being unconsciously incompetent about something else.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I was teaching business statistics, and I was offered then the second semester that I taught was business ethics. Mm-hmm. I said, well, okay. Turns out it's the shortest business course in all of the California community college system. It's 2 units.
Wow.
And I'm thinking to myself, okay, how do I teach business ethics? Never had it before. So in my engineering quest for a way to put business into a framework that is an ethical framework, I came across something called Conscious Capitalism.
Okay.
And Conscious Capitalism is based in 4 principles: higher purpose, multi-stakeholder orientation, conscious leadership, and here's the hardest one, conscious culture. Mm-hmm. And so that experience then completely changed my view of not only what business could be and should be, because one of the mantras of conscious capitalism is making the world a better place through business. Mm-hmm. So that became then not only the core of the framework for an ethical business, but also injecting those concepts into the business courses that I taught. So business statistics was no longer business statistics, it was conscious business statistics, because there's an ethical element to the collection of an analysis of the data. You have to be truly ethical and non-judgmental in how you analyze and gather the data.
Yeah, I mean, like a scientist, there's the results will tell me what conclusion I come to. I won't be jumping ahead going, I want the numbers to say this.
But nonetheless, there's that unconscious bias. Mm-hmm. We're human beings, we filter information, we come to the world with biases.
Of course.
And that's part, and so that's the thing when you are doing statistics, you have to step back from that. Mm-hmm. You have to be mindful, if you will.
Yes.
So that's why it was conscious business statistics. Intro to business was no longer intro to business, it was intro to conscious business.
Got it.
And one of the things too with this conscious capitalism framework is highly fractal, in the sense that it can apply to an entire organization, a department, a team, all the way down to the individual.
Sure.
So that got me to the 3rd greatest day in a person's life, my higher purpose, my just cause.
Sure.
And that was inspiring and enabling a conscious workforce. There's lots of organizations, Conscious Capitalism is one of them, B Corp is another, that are working top down. That is to win the hearts and minds of business organizations to embrace profit or purpose beyond profit. Some people refer to as the triple bottom line. Mm-hmm. People, profit, and planet. Okay, I'm working bottom up. Because if I can influence and inspire and provide the mechanisms and the frameworks and the exemplars, the examples, if you will, of conscious from the start people that are either entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs, many of these very fine conscious businesses, and I'm just going to talk in the profit sector, it also applies in the not-for-profit sector. I mean, the sales forces of the world, the REIs of the world, et cetera, are looking for people to fit into their conscious culture. Mm-hmm. And when I was looking for work, I was part of Experience Unlimited. This is an initiative from the Contra Costa employment development folks. Mm-hmm. There are 3 things an employer is looking for. Can you do the job? Do you want the job? And can we stand working with you?
Yeah.
And that's that culture element. And the conscious businesses are looking for people who are, if you will, conscious from the start. So that got me into podcasting, because when I took a step back and retired as an adjunct, mm-hmm. from DVC. I said, okay, fine. So what am I going to do? Because, this fire to make a difference hasn't gone out.
Right.
And I don't know that it ever will go out. So that's why I started doing a podcast called Confessions of an Unconscious Capitalist. And the undercurrent, or the theme song, was Amazing Grace.
Yep.
I was once lost, now I've found.
Yeah, exactly.
And so on and so forth.
Absolutely. And that, I mean, this idea of conscious capitalism it's fascinating. It's trying, obviously, saying, how can I do it? And I like this idea of, let's start at the bottom, because you want to know what? That's the person who, as they rise up through this organization, is spreading all of that. So much easier than the top-down, let's get the CEO to say this. I've worked in many large corporations where, oh, hey, we're doing this initiative. Okay. No explanation as to why we're doing it, how it affects the business, what the hopeful outcome is. But obviously, if you start with someone at the beginning, they're going to know how to do it. You and I were talking about, I was talking about writing a book, which I still find amazing. I couldn't do that if I didn't start at the beginning with, like I was talking about, learning how to write my ABCs. I can't write a book if I don't know how letters go and how words go together and how sentences go together. That's, I think, perhaps I'm oversimplifying, but that's sort of what you're talking about. Let's get these conscious business people, these conscious capitalists, to learn about it from the beginning, so that as they're going through their career, they're sharing it with other people. Am I on par with that?
And it truly is an awakening, because we're not talking about anything more than what the human being that ourselves are all about. And in fact, one of the earliest neuroscientists was a guy named Adam Smith. Mm-hmm. And you may know Adam Smith from Wealth of Nations.
Right.
But before he wrote Wealth of Nations, he wrote The Theory of Moral Sentiment. Mm-hmm. And that was all about, when I see someone in pain, I feel pain. Mm-hmm. When I see someone experiencing joy, I feel joy. Mm-hmm. This is part of the human experience. Not only do we have that innate fight, flight, or freeze, mm-hmm. we also have its complement, that need for community, that need for socialization, and in fact, that hope for to really pursue and achieve joy and happiness. That's as much a survival instinct as fight, flight, or freeze. But unfortunately, we are bombarded with information about, if it bleeds, it leads.
Yep.
And we lose sight of those positive things that are all around us. And
quickly, you talked about that need for socialization. Sadly, today, the art of interpersonal communication is being lost. I have two daughters, 19 and 21, and they're great communicators, but in part because I and my ex-wife worked hard to make sure that they knew how to talk to people. But I run into, and I'm going to sound like an old man here, a lot of young people, but they
was all my dinosaur.
Exactly, but they don't know how to actually. They have a hard time interpersonal interactions, because they're used to doing stuff online. They're texting, they're video chatting, but you don't have this in person. There's so much of the nonverbal that's important. And in my work in mental health, I've seen people unable to pick up the nonverbal cues of what's going on. And that's so important. And it's like, that's a million years of evolution says, let's pick up that you're looking nervous, that you're smiling, that you're looking angry. And yes, we all inherently know how to do it. We know how to pick that up, but we don't know what to do with that information.
Well, some of us who are neurodiverse can't pick up on some of those cues. And this is where another framework comes in called emotional intelligence. Mm-hmm. Self-awareness, situational awareness,
Yep.
emotional regulation, and relationship building.
Yeah, definitely. And so how does all of that, and I know this is a big question and we don't have a lot of time, but how does that all of that fit into conscious capitalism?
As a matter of fact, almost hand in glove.
Okay.
Because I talked about the 4 principles
Yep.
of conscious capitalism, right?
Yep.
Higher purpose. That is nothing more than self-awareness.
Yep.
Multi-stakeholder orientation. Situational awareness.
Yep.
Conscious leadership. Emotional regulation.
Yep.
Conscious culture. Relationship management.
Definitely.
So they overlay because at the heart of any business, again, for-profit, not-for-profit, public sector, it doesn't matter, is people.
Definitely.
People are human.
They are.
So why is it that our businesses become inhuman? And my answer is because of essentially metrics.
Mm-hmm.
Money is the easiest thing to measure.
Definitely.
And what gets measured is what gets done. That's the good news and the bad news.
Definitely.
So this fixation on dollar, that economic measure, economic income, causes us to lose sight of the importance of that psychic income.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Eric, so much to talk about, so little time. We are coming to the end. Is there someplace people can find out more about conscious capitalism?
Sure. Conscious capitalism as a concept, and again, there are many different flavors of it, but you can go out and do a Google search on conscious capitalism, and invariably you will find Conscious Capitalism, Inc.,
Okay.
which is the umbrella organization that is promoting conscious business, this particular conscious business framework. There's lots of places to find my podcast. Right now, I only have 1 pilot episode out on Spotify. Just look for Confessions of an Unconscious Capitalist. There's an audio version and a video version of an interview that I did with a very, very interesting young lady.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming in and sharing today. I want to remind everyone that if you're ready to begin your epic journey, go to epicbegins.com. And as always, remember, epic choices lead to the epic life that you want.
And you deserve.